The worst PvE katana is an interesting discussion. Some say the Serpent Bone Blade because it comes with deadly poison instead of bleed, but it still has good dex scaling, good range, and comes with a fantastic double slash skill. This means that the skill scales with all these options, so it's easy to do incredible damage, and that's without factoring poison detonation on a swap weapon. Alright, so that one's out. The Dragon Scale Blade is another candidate because it seems to lack a status, but the truth is that the weapon skill buff is so easy to maintain and so powerful that it basically does lightning damage and frostbite full time. Plus, I'm a big fan of blue, so bonus points for that. That leaves one more, what I believe is truly the worst katana in the game, the Meteoric Ore Blade. This dull space rock has the highest weight of all katanas, the worst range, scaling's more awkward than your Thanksgiving family conversations, and worst of all, a skill that I can only describe as a wet fart that becomes a steaming brown disaster in an instant. This weapon is so worthless that even with its special heavy attack, it is 100% outclassed by a weapon that you find 30 seconds into the DLC. But despite these glaring flaws, is this weapon truly as bad as the Eclipse Shotels and Vars Bouquets of the world? Or can its position as a quick bleed katana still redeem it against the demigods themselves? The answer may surprise you. Without further ado, let's ask, can you beat Elden Ring Deathless with the worst katana? Before we get into it, this entire run was streamed on my Twitch and uploaded to my VOD channel. I do a bunch of Deathless Elden Ring runs there too. Links in the description. For this run, I must kill all 26 Remembrance bosses, using only the Meteoric Ore Blade to defeat them and any bosses on the way. Except Rykard will need to be killed with a Serpent-Hunter this time, since comparing that weapon's range to this katana is like comparing an ICBM to a Nerf gun. I also cannot use summons of any kind. No cuckery here, boys. And finally, I cannot die or else I need to reset the entire run. Unlike my previous challenge, I will play a new game since the Meteoric Ore Blade can be found right at the beginning. Well, at least it has that going for it, I guess. I chose Vagabond as my starting class since it minimizes the dead stats of Mind, Faith, and Arcane. I also decided to model my character after everyone's favorite tsundere samurai, Yasuke. It only makes sense for an aggressively mid weapon to be wielded by an aggressively mid character. Upon loading in, I run over to the reject waifu and unlock Torrent. Then I grab the whetstone knife for infusions later and immediately head to Caelid. After making it to the southwest corner, I head into these ruins that contain an army of rotcucks. With enough safe quit magic, I run past all the insectoid splooge and make it to the Meteoric Ore Blade. Oh boy. Like I said before, this weapon has the highest weight and worst range of all katanas, and those are big problems. The in-scaling and split magic damage is pretty whatever as well. But worst of all is the weapon skill on it, Gravitas. You thrust your sword downward with range equivalent to the length of a gnat's dick, and you pulse gravity magic once that pulls humanoid enemies inward. This garbage is almost entirely worthless in PvE. The skill does poor damage, the melee part whiffs a ton, and bringing dangerous NPCs right in your face is just as smart as smelling gas and lighting a match to see what's up. That's fine though, since you can just remove it from the weapon, right? Wrong. This weapon is not infusible, so you're stuck with it. You may as well just not have a weapon skill. It's that bad, dudes. But it isn't all terrible news. The blade does 20% more damage to gravity enemies, the whole 2 of them I will fight. Cool, I guess? It also still has the quick katana moveset, which actually gives solid benefits later. But most importantly, it has a unique heavy attack that slams the blade downward, which is literally just a recycled Ichimonji from Sekiro. It is also slightly faster, making the charge attack build for this weapon basically the only serious option. At least this weapon has some cool flavor all to itself. Sounds great, right? Meet the Great Katana, a weapon that you get instantly in the DLC without fighting a single enemy. This weapon has way more range, better scalings, more bleed buildup, is infusible, only weighs slightly more, and comes with a stance skill whose light attack is also an Ichimonji, but its heavy attack is a triple Ichimonji. And because it is a stance skill, it benefits off more talismans. What? The Great Katana completely annihilates Meteoric Ore Blade. It is totally useless at that point. Like, what the frick, FromSoft? Seeing the Ichimonji animation stuck on this bastardized homunculus is almost as much of a travesty as when they turned Halo into Galo. Man, this weapon just ticks me off by how redundant it is. Oh well. With the weapon in hand, I continue the collectathon. New game runs are kinda tedious since there's a lot of stuff to grab, so I will just show the unique items. I first go past this sleeping bear to acquire the Axe Talisman, an obvious synergy with the charge attack playstyle I plan to run. Right next door is the spiked crystal tier, yet another huge boost to charge attack damage. I then murder this knight in cold blood to get the Golden Bow Ash of War, which is BIS for all non-faith builds on a swap weapon. Just a quick cast and forget buff before each boss for some extra damage and mitigation. Not like I'm doing anything useful with my FP anyway with this turd magnet. I also grabbed the 2 gold pickled foul feet in the overworld. These items give a whopping 30% increased runes, and they can be used during boss death animations to great effect. I then grabbed the Great Turtle Shell, which gives a useful stamina recovery buff when used, but because I don't enjoy looking like a ninja turtle, I tend to shy away from this except in pure desperation. After the first collecting phase, I head over to Grail and Dragon Barrow and give his ankle the Achilles treatment, using Bleed's percent-based damage to blast him. With one of the gold pickled foul feet, I get a whopping 100,000 runes, which I use to level Vigor up to 30. Then I head into the adjacent castle and nab Radagon Source Seal, an amazing early game option that effectively gives me 20 levels. Lastly, I head over to this merchant and grab my armor for the run, the stylish Land of Reed set. Can't go wrong with a little samurai action. Well, except this game. Alright, it's time to head to Stormveil. After successfully running from these clowns, we face the Omen King. Morgott seems intimidating at first, but he has several attacks with very long windups and poor tracking, so it's easy to get slices in from the side. Even heavy attacks carry almost no risk of death. That means I get a free stagger at the start of phase 2, and the crit plus bleed combo is too much for him to tank. He dies super quickly. I then run through Stormveil's main gate and make it to the Godrick fight. Godrick has the exact same issues as Morgott, a handful of big and slow attacks that easily allow Yasuke to plunge his sword deep into Godrick's behind. A timely stagger in phase 1 leads to a shortened phase 2, and another one ends his life. He even tried to attack while dead somehow? That's weird. You're starting to see why charge attack builds are so primo in the early game, but surely it will fall off later, right? I then head over to the nearby tower and activate Godrick's Great Rune, a fantastic option that gives 25 levels for me, since everything but Mind, Faith, and Arcane is useful. After some more running around in the swamp collecting important quest items like the Academy Key, I make it to the front entrance. Earlier I had spoken to Yura at his creepy camp under the ruins, and now I decide to help him kill his mark. This NPC is super obnoxious since he spams dodges, but Yura is a useful meat shield. I even mess around with the Gravitas a bit and pull him out of the air like a weather balloon. After applying the Yasuke special enough times, he goes down. Yura rewards me with the Raptor of the Mist Ash of War, which when applied to another swap weapon allows me to dodge attacks with frustratingly Dark Souls 2-esque hitboxes. After heading into Altus Plateau, I easily dice Gillica to pieces and grab the Ritual Sword Talisman, boosting damage at full HP, which is somewhat simple to maintain with the quick Katana moveset. After more running, I decide to grab the strongest talisman in the game by heading to Caelid and fighting the Cleanrot Knight duo. The key here is to bait out the Spear One's grab attack, which is easily punishable with a backstab and follow-up attack. Gravitas actually does help stun the other one a bit. It's a miracle. After the first one is down, the Sickle Chud is just a matter of baiting out the slow sweep attack repeatedly. After they both die, I am awarded with the fantastic Gold Scarab, which you can swap to after boss deaths and get 100% of the benefits with 0% of the downsides. After that slaughter, I head all the way to Volcano Manor and complete the first quest by dash attack spamming this goober to death. Oh hey, you're stuck with a completely garbage skill too? I feel for you, buddy. This lets me purchase Assassin's Gambit, which allows me to stealth through areas much more easily. It sounds stupid, but this really is a great convenience. Finally, I kill some worthless NPC that literally never attacked me once for some reason. Then at Patch's shop, I purchased the 3 gold pickled foul feet in storage. Throughout all this, I also managed to get my weapon up to +5. Phew. That's most of the collecting done for now, boys. New game runs, am I right? Back to the boss grind. The next one is the Red Wolf of Radahn. Doggo has pitifully low defenses, so his health gets chunked. Combined with the jump attack opportunities during the fight, he simply has no hope of surviving even with all his glint blade garbage. He gets carved up. After him is Rennala. After beating up the scholars, I somehow managed to one-phase Rennala still in the first part. You might think phase 2 will be tough since she has 80% magic resistance, which counters a fair amount of my damage, but she throws harder than Argentina by summoning the dragon, which is the only summon that you can completely ignore for the first 10 seconds since the fire whiffs. Wow. Thanks for the freebie, Rennala. After heading back to Volcano Manor, I face off against the Godskin Noble. This guy is pretty tough, but you can abuse the fact that his fireball attack has a dead zone underneath him by baiting it at range and spamming dash attacks. The shorter range on this weapon makes this much more annoying, who would have guessed? But it's still feasible. His roly-poly attack failed to cancel once and I got Tekken womboed, but still, it was not a serious threat to the run. The Michelin Man got turned to paste. Time for Rykard. Unfortunately, I did need to employ the Serpent-Hunter services to beat him, but don't worry, he didn't make it easy for me this time. I got the worst RNG humanly possible by having a lava pool input read me during his ultimate startup, preventing me from looping him in phase 2. So I had to run around the arena like an idiot until it subsided. Man, what an annoying sack. He goes down with much issues actually. Luckily, he is the one and only enemy this entire run that was not killed with the Meteoric Ore Blade. After that, I head over to Starscourge Radahn. After forcing his molecules to evaporate, I get a free pre-buff opportunity. Abusing his long animations between phases, I manage to drain his health before phase 2 starts. I even preserved the stance damage from phase 1 and instantly staggered him to death in phase 2. Alright, time out. Why is this so easy so far? I mean, compared to the Lion Great Bow, this thing is a walk in the park. At this point, I was genuinely wondering if I made a mistake calling this the worst katana. But all the metrics point to it being the worst, so I decided to keep going. Keep this charge attack insanity in mind though, boys. It will be relevant later. Next up is a really obnoxious foe, Magnus the Beastclaw. This guy has bestial incantations with borderline glitchy hitboxes, and even near instant spells. The Great Star attacks are all really scary as well, except for Lion's Claw funnily enough, which is too telegraphed. Fighting him with a poor range katana was so frightening to me that I decided to kill him this late rather than earlier like I usually do. But after enough dash and roll attacks, I send him to an early grave. Before heading to Mohg though, I decided to clean up the Draconic Tree Sentinel. Draconics are really weak to charge attack builds on account of their super long phase animations and shield attacks. The opening immediately results in a stagger, and not long into phase 2, I get yet another stun. It's hard for a boss to be a serious threat to you when he spends half the time being stun locked like he just read a cringe opinion on X. He gets absolutely brutalized. One more random side boss. The Putrescent Avatar in Dragon Barrow is quite easy, so long as you play Ring Around the Rosie for his dumb Scarlet Butt Slam and stunlock the frick out of him with charged heavies. He drops the Opaline Hard Tier, a must-have for Deathless runs that greatly increases damage mitigation for a whopping 3 minutes. Alright, it's now time to complete Vare's questline and head to Mohg's. With access to this area, I get the earliest possible Somber Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone, allowing me to max out my weapon at +10. Look at those sweet C&D scaling, so good. Mohg himself is straightforward. There's a certain cadence to his attacks that makes the fight almost second nature for me. I don't know how to describe it other than watching his hands and not panic rolling, understanding that a lot of his rolls require a split second of waiting. The Katana moveset comes in clutch here too. The roll attack is so fast that it unlocks new openings in between his attack animations. He also is super vulnerable to charge attacks, but funnily enough, my move RNG was so terrible that I could not get a single stance break in. No matter, even without that, this is probably my most practiced fight in the game, so he goes down landing only a single melee hit. Dang, getting mogged by Yasuke must not feel great. I then took care of the Mimic tier to open up some more remembrances for later. This fight was hilarious because despite having access to my plus 10 katana, he decided to use my unupgraded sidearms with my Ashes of War instead. Even the game doesn't want to play with this useless sack of fecal matter. Yasuke was not impressed. After entering Leyndell and acquiring the Ritual Shield Talisman, the best defensive talisman in the game in a Deathless run, I unlocked the paths to several other bosses, then ended day 1 of the stream. Pleasantly surprised by this weapon's performance, to put it lightly. The DLC Graces section was largely the same as the Lion Grapo run, except with the added collection of Scadutree fragments. This time I went overboard in safety, collecting enough to ensure a Scadutree level of 18 for PCR later. As a recap, the DLC is set up such that 10 of the 11 remembrances can be fought back to back as a boss rush if you have the graces for them. So getting those and finishing NPC questline shenanigans were the priority. Here are the quick highlights. Over in these ruins, I grabbed the two-handed sword talisman. By far the most reliable talisman in the run that boosts essentially all of my attacks. Well, besides this garbage, but who cares about that? Killing Hornset and Ansbach grants me the Lacerating Crosstree and Retaliatory Crosstree talismans respectively, which both have their use cases, but Retaliatory is especially important later. The Scadutree Hippos are actually quite easy due to their lack of a phase 2, and they can be dispatched via spacing them and spamming dash and roll attacks. Believe it or not, Dumbfrick Joy was actually not bad with this weapon. The ability to backstab, heavy charge attack, and bleed him in quick succession made him notably less irritating this time. I also gave his summons a good bonking to stop them from chasing me around like a crackhead in body cam footage. Down goes my least favorite boss. An ancient dragon man is always susceptible to dash attacks followed by backwards rolls, so I literally no-hit him for the first time. Yeah. With this weapon, of all things. We went from this last run to this. Whatever game, whatever. And with that, the DLC runaround is concluded. Back in Leyndell, I continue the city stroll by fighting Goldfree. He has a huge dead zone directly to his left that allows me to charge attack him, but with mixed results. Ouch. So I decide to fight him straight up with reactionary jumping heavies instead. Godfrey in general is just one of those fights that I care so little about that I endlessly procrastinate on improving. I'm sure you guys can relate. After him, of course, is Morgott. There is a serious flaw in his moveset where during his spear throw, you can get right under him and dead zone it entirely. This means dash attacks and delight combos massacre him. I then punish his extremely long phase animation with a bleed proc and a couple heavies until he dies. This dude is going to be underwhelming in every one of these runs, isn't he? Breezing past the Winter Wonderland and almost contracting rabies, I make it to the Fire Giant. Phase 1 plays out the same as normal, using manual camera aim and charge attacks to poke his ankle over and over. You too, huh? Phase 2 is always problematic though. Like I explained in the Great Bow challenge, he has a one-shot attack that is really hard to dodge, so the goal usually is to minimize that risk by fighting on horseback. Unlike that challenge though, I actually do stance damage this time. Would you look at that? Charge attack builds decimate Fire Giant because you can virtually guarantee extending the phase 2 opening via a stagger. Gently poking his eye leaves him with virtually no HP, and he falls extremely quickly. The stun locking is absolutely insane, boys. Going back underground, I run past the Kindred of Rot and make it to Astel. With a bit of good RNG, he delays his tail whip so long that I get a huge opening right at the start. The bonus damage to gravity enemies helps a lot here. After the phase 2 ultimate, he throws again by using his tail triple jab, and a few more cuts later, he's toast. Ha! Who's the true space rock now? Continuing the easy bosses, it's time for Regal Ancestor Spirit. And for this guy, just take a look at how much damage one Ichimonji does. Yeah, I think you guys know how it went. Terrible and obnoxious fight time. Gargoyle Duo is still annoying as always, but this time the first Garg's fast moveset includes most possibilities of using charge attacks. Luckily, the second Gargoyle decided to leisurely walk his way to me, and the first one uses the one attack that you can punish with a heavy. That was lucky. Hitting the Twin Blade Garg can be, how shall I say, problematic. And he pukes on the ground more than an anorexic teenager, but for some reason he quickly changed to his Great Axe, which is far easier to deal with. The Great Axe is so slow that almost every attack can be punished with a heavy, so he gets blitzed. The constant self-sabotage these dudes are doing is a perfect parallel to using this weapon. Running across the tree roots, I make it to the Fia's Champions boss. The first 2 waves get instantly annihilated, so not much to discuss there. The trio fight begins by shanking the first dude instantly, then constantly kiting the others. Slicing the double colossal Chad while Leyndell is a little puss and spams Rancor Call from the back. Once it's just me versus Leyndell, he absolutely spurgs out by just spamming the skulls. Look at this! Dude's playing like it's 2008 Call of Duty. After he gets done, I respond in kind by torching the heck out of him. Let's just forget that happened. Fortissax unfortunately does not die in 5 seconds this time, so I gotta talk about him. The opening is punishable by attacking his left foot. After that, I opt for a back strategy by baiting him until lengthy frontal attacks and sprinting under him, chopping up his tail and toes. His lightning spears are easy openings since directly to the left of his left foot is a safe zone. The lightning aura he has is still annoying, but it never is problematic enough to cause deaths. After enough lacerations, he goes down. Back at Farm Azula, the initial run-through is pretty standard, using Assassin's Gambit to make the undead section a lot easier. Past the Banished Knights is the Godskin duo. As usual, I try to use the pillars to separate them and bait fireballs, but for some reason Fatso went on strike and simply refused. Cool, thanks for that game. After a while, I whittle him down to phase 2, where his -10 slash resistance causes him to die extremely quickly. After that, the Godskin Apostle is simply a trade fight. Blitz him down while he blitzes you. In case you didn't know, you can attack their corpses as they die to continue damaging their shared HP bar, which allows me to finish the fight with just a single respawn. After some good old birdie fun, I make it to Placidusax. Due to his extremely long opener, charge attack builds absolutely decimate him, virtually guaranteeing a stagger. I opt to run away during the teleport phase because one claw attack in particular is extremely hard to dodge, although if you're willing to risk it, you can get a ton of hits in. After raptoring the cross-map Thundercloud form, I keep up the pressure. He then commits a colossal throw by using his best attack at the end of the phase, this super long breath combo that allows for yet another stagger. Before he's able to start laser phase, I finish the job. As cool as Placidusax is, it does suck that he's so easy. Next is the upstairs neighbor, Malekith. I finally learned this dude's phase 1 for once in my life, so it's much less of an embarrassment. Basically, after dodging his lunge and follow-up combos, he uses this extremely narrow downward lunge that can be punished with a charge attack. Rinse and repeat until phase 2. The stand-on weapon attack can be dodged from behind and in front, so that's another easy charge attack opportunity. With Malekith, you can't really commit to a long attack chain unless you want to get vaporized by his destined death. On the plus side, it's another opening. After abusing his weird hitbox and slow turnaround, he gets sliced to bits. Alright, time for the very, very long run to Millennia. Up first is Commander Neil. No more cheesing with a bow, Yasuke has to get his hands dirty. The general strategy for this fight is to immediately kill the dual-wielding summon, unless you like getting frame-trapped to death. The other summon can be backstabbed after the shield lunge attack. Then Neil immediately goes into phase 2. Luckily, there are 3 extremely easy openings to punish. The first is his lightning jump kick. If you dodge forward and land behind him, he'll often do a banner poke, which is a large punish. Next, his 2 banner frost swings are punishable, making it super easy to take chunks out of his HP. A few more John Sekiros and a stagger later, and Neil gets turned to paste. After some more Gambito action in the Halleck tree, I make it to Loretta. She is quite annoying due to her freaking backstepping, and the bad range makes it so much worse. Some of the floaty attacks can be punished with pre-queuing a charge attack. Similar to Godskin Noble, she does have a dead zone with her great bow as well. Phase 2 normally is bad if you're passive, but if you abuse her long animations going into the phase, you can delete her HP, especially with a charge attack build. Before she can do anything, she dies. The fact that the worst Katana is doing this to bosses should be a big clue as to how good Katanas are in this game. Right before Millennia, I show this rot cuck some Yasuke libido and grab the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, a fantastic defensive option for her and PCR. Malenia requires constant aggression to maximize openings in phase 1. If she starts running at you, she will do her kick, which can be outranged and punished with an Ichimonji. The triple slash can be dodged by rolling forward, checking if she does the slow variant that can be punished. I also tried some new tech this run with Waterfowl. If she decided to point blank me with it, I would pull out my Vow of the Indomitable shield, allowing me to negate virtually the entire first flurry with one use plus a roll. If she did it far away, the standard dodge strat would still apply. This eliminates almost all risk in phase 1. After enough back and forth, I make it to phase 2. She actually has a lot more openings in this phase because her Scarlet Aeonia and Scarlet Rot Slams are free in addition to the kick and triple slash from phase 1. The ultimate can be dodged close, but it is super risky, so I try to keep her in the center of the arena so I can do the far easier runaway strat instead. Once she starts spamming Aeonia in the second half, she virtually is guaranteed to die. After only taking a single hit at the very end, I managed to send her Ratussi back to the Shadow Realm. Man, to say I am pleasantly surprised by this weapon would be a massive understatement. Time to beat the endgame. Gideon is always an annoying sack, but staying close up to him and waiting for his reactionary rolls allows me to interrupt his spell casting more often than not. The bleed procs also devastate him. He does get one Aeonia in, but unlike Malenia's, his are more impotent than a diabetic eunuch. The so-called all-knowing goes down. I bet he gave himself that nickname. Godfrey is a boss where I just attack him and things happen. Obviously, jump attacks are key here. Phase 2 is hilarious because he suddenly becomes super weak to slash damage, so while he's sitting on the ground throwing a tantrum, I use his skin as an Etch-a-Sketch, causing a timely stagger and instantly ending the fight. What a sad little man. Radahn is all about having a strong opening. I decide on a charge attack and a light hit. A couple more charge attacks later and his health goes deep into phase 2 before he can even do anything. His ultimate attack is yet another opening, and after a few more chops, he dies. Charge attacks, man. Nuts. Elden suffers from the same problems. The initial opening is so long that I managed to land a stagger immediately on him. Wow. When he starts phase 2, I try to get a little greedy, but it almost backfires spectacularly. I didn't notice when I was playing, but he did his worst combo way faster than I expected. Elden Stars into Fire Breath into Flying Sword Crescents. This caused so much visual clutter that I did not see I sprinted right past the first crescent. Oh my goodness. No joke, if that hit me there with Elden Stars right on me, there would be like a 90% chance of dying. After I saw that footage in the playback, my heart literally skipped a beat, it was that close. Besides that, the rest of the fight played out as usual, sticking close to him and spamming heavies. Yasuke 1, Weird Space Alien 0. Now for the ultimate test. Can the worst katana in the game handle the DLC? I went to bed that night scared and seriously wondering about my strats. I was not prepared for the total obliteration that followed. Before starting the DLC, I made a couple final changes to my build. First, I went over to Radahn's tower to collect his Great Rune, giving me a bunch of extra HP and stamina. Oh, and more FP for my useless garbage skill, I guess. Then I changed my stat spread. Prior to this, I focused Strength to 54, accounting for the two-handed bonus putting it above 80, then Intelligence to 50, and Dexterity as filler. To ensure that I never would get stamina blocked without stamina talismans, especially on PCR, I instead moved Dex points to Endurance. With this new distribution, I eagerly headed into the boss rush. Divine Beast cannot really kill me due to his lackluster damage, but his oblong hitbox and frustratingly non-distinct bite attacks make this first phase a bit miserable. The circular ash attacks are a reliable charge attack opening though. After flailing around a bunch, he goes into phase 2. Lightning phase is almost always unsafe except for the circular attack, since the lightning trails can and will hit you at the worst times. Wind phase is instead the hardest hitting and suffers from lingering hitboxes, but his overzealous lunge attacks are great openings. Finally, Frost phase has an easy jump attack punish with his Frost Stomp and is otherwise quite similar to phase 1. I decided to trade with him a bunch because I can't be bothered. Just like my hope for humanity, he quickly goes down. Next up is Commander Gaius for those sweet Scadutree fragments. I used the wall cheese to get a free charge attack opening, then yet another after the Flurry Slash. The quick katana roll attacks allow me to punish almost everything without fear of the boar kicking me in the gonads, although that range is still trash-tastic. This also means that his poise basically never resets, so a stun is inevitable. Phase 2 is the same, except easier somehow since he adds another giga-long opening? Interesting design philosophy. After bleeding his boar in the eye, Commander Cripple gets knocked down a peg. Meteor is up next. After bulldozing Ghetto Wolverine with light attacks, that is. Meteor has some of the quickest recovery speeds in the game, so charge attacks are mostly out. That automatically makes it a slog, where I simply have to spam roll and dash attacks, abusing the intermittent openings as best I can. At least she has 0 slash resistance and takes bonus damage as a gravity enemy. That's pretty nice. When phase 2 starts, I just Oonga Boonga her until I get knocked down, then I keep wailing as she comes back down, netting an enormous amount of damage. That leaves her with a fleeting microcosm of HP. It's not squeaky clean, but it definitely gets the job done, boys. After her, I decide to get some fresh air on the Dragon Peak and fight Bayle. He is far too intimidating to fight face to face, so I instead remain in character and weasel my way to his welfare leg. He takes bonus damage here, and obviously it's a bit hard for him to hit me at this spot, so charge attacks are back on the menu. When he jumps away, I make sure to give him a boop on the nose to preserve stance damage. His downward fire is annoying, but also one of the most consistent openings due to its long recovery time. After stance breaking him and beating on his head like a piñata, I enter phase 2. It's mostly the same story here, but with the added fun of whiffing hits with my flaccid little blade. So sick, I love that. His AoE explosion is actually an opening with Raptor of the Mist, so he quite literally nerfs himself by trying it. The Burning Skies attack is such a dogwater hitbox that I elect to use a Raptor Roll Raptor combo to deal with it. Seriously, Raptor is so goated on this fight. One more grab at literally nothing, and he dies. No wonder this dude lost to Placidusax. Time for my op, Midra. I really like this fight, but it technically has ended the most deathless runs recently, so I'm hyper vigilant here. Luckily, he has 0 slash resistance on account of having literally no armor, and a rather pathetic poise of 80, so guess what happened a bunch of times? I even get a charge attack into a bleed as he gets up once for enormous damage. He enters phase 2 with literally half the amount of HP he normally has. His long frenzied sword combo has 2 jump attack openings, leading to even more damage. I managed to detonate his entire health bar without a single hit. By now, you should really understand the power of charge attacks in this game. I then descend into the latrine to fight Putrescent. Unlike Midra, Putrescent actually has slash resistance, 40 this time, so the fight is greatly prolonged. His Quasimodo hitbox accentuates the really bad range I have too. Still, the quick roll attacks allow me to side strafe his run past attacks and hit him fairly often. After his spinning guillotine attacks, I can also get a charged heavy off. Phase 2 is the same story essentially, just with annoying lingering fire attacks that can be jumped. Overall, despite the high resistances, he went down without major problems. We're running out of the quote-unquote easy bosses by now. Case in point, the next one is the Queen of Spam, Rennala. Ugh. The goal for her is to play a spacing game, barely outranging her attacks to bait favorable combo finishers with huge openings. She also has a lot of secret jump attack opportunities. Charged heavies in general are a no-go on the boss that constantly attacks. What a shocker. My move RNG was extremely good in phase 1. She literally just kept spamming this super easy combo that allows for a roll attack punish, and this jump opening. Phase 2 wasn't that much harder. I don't know why my luck was so amazing this attempt. She was flimsier than a Redditor's spine. She did try one sneaky maneuver by using massive glint blades into twin moons, but that is solved by side jumping. She also point blanked her flurry slash, which is considered quite bad luck, but I survived it, and the rest of the fight was so good that I can't complain. Down she goes. Don't worry about Messmer, honey. He'll soon be joining you. Before that, though, is his favorite gardening project, the Scadutree Avatar. Phase 1 is lightning quick as always, with just a lingering hitbox clipping me once. Phase 2 is the hardest part. The duo boss of the Avatar and the wobbly camera 12 drinks in is pretty annoying, and he tried to spam his thorn attacks, which are super hard to dodge, but he hits like a wet fart, so there's no serious danger even in that. Something kinda annoying is that even with the short range, the Ichimonji hitbox starting behind me made it so that I hit the resistance stock a lot more than the flower head, greatly lowering damage. And phase 3 is just a matter of dodging the ultimates and winning. Well, except when you get frame trapped into a grab. Okay, that's kinda embarrassing. The only bosses left are the 3 required to beat the DLC. Messmer, Ramana, and Radahn. First up is Mezzy. As another 0 slash resistance chud, he gets trucked. There are also plenty of openings for both standing and jumping heavies in phase 1. His recoveries are so slow in fact that I can fit 2 light attacks in if I wanted. Goodness, he's more exposed than Rykard. A swift stagger ends phase 1. Snake phase is interesting because the snakes are pitifully weak in defenses, so those are great openings. His dash away after melee combos is also punishable with either dash or roll attacks. The only time I get hit, in fact, is his garbage fire spread attack with a glitchy hitbox. There's no one on this planet better at this game than me when it comes to getting hit exactly once, then killing the boss. No idea why. Ramana is as rancid as a backed up toilet, but with the added fun of having 40 slash resistance. Most of her punishes are roll attacks, except this lovely side swipe which allows me to deliver an extra side of Katana right to her head. For the garbage corkscrew attack that is worse designed than everything in Dark Souls 2, I elect to use Vow of the Indomitable on my turtle shield. Much better. Phase 2 is pretty much the same, with basically all identical openings. I don't know what to say really, and I know you guys just want me to get to Radahn, so let's just wrap this up. Alright, time for the final gauntlet. A near limb is greatly trivialized by Assassin's Gambit. The first Divine Beast Warrior and the Horn Shamans were fairly standard, but for the Grave Birds, I gotta show you guys the craziest thing by far in this run. Is that Gravitas actually doing something? Oh my goodness! Praise be, dudes! After a brisk walk, we make it to the NPC battle. As usual, this is what I worried about most, especially due to the poor range on this weapon. Gravitas is a death sentence, and I have no great runes, so my survivability is lower. The one saving grace is that the Katana attacks are enough to stagger Dane momentarily, so the last resort option is still viable, running around like a kid on a sugar rush and slowly poking down Dane. And I mean slowly. Take a look at that damage. I also need to isolate Dane, since rushing in with Leda there too is about as smart as rinsing your mouth with Tide Pods. After a very long time, Dane gets tired of living and rage quits. Good news, killing Leda is the same strategy, except worse because she has almost twice the HP and can delay her follow-up, catching me on my rolls. After another amazing session of running 25 laps around the arena, I managed to whittle her down. That sucked, but at least it was expected. So, it's just Yasuke and Radahn, who will win this epic battle of wills. And simping over a dude in a dress. For him, I decided to run a specialized setup of Retaliatory Cross Tree and Axe Talisman to boost my roll attacks and charge attacks respectively, as well as the amazing two-handed sword talisman. I also switched to Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman since the value of Virtual Sword is greatly diminished when you have light lasers shooting up your bum constantly. I also put on the Turtle Shield at last for some much needed stamina recovery and access to Vow on demand for bad meteors. With that, I'm ready to face him. Radahn has a surprisingly high amount of charge attack openings, such as after his spinning gravity thrust. This is the fight where that slight speed increase to the charge attack actually pays off, so kudos to that. Something even more amazing though is that the quick katana roll attack unlocks a brand new opening. In between this long combo, it becomes possible to land a hit. It might not seem like much damage, but it prevents him from regenerating stance as well, synergizing perfectly with this build. Unsurprisingly, he gets knocked down quickly, which ends phase 1. Phase 2 begins poorly by getting the bad RNG start. Him postponing Light of Mikola is not great since that means it can go off at an unexpected time. Which, surprise surprise, it does, forcing me in an awkward spot. The first meteor almost turned to a disaster because of this, but luckily there was just enough room to maneuver. His Mohg attack is another easy charge attack opening, so I take it. Then he came close to endangering me by having a light beam spawn closer than it should on his triple slash. I believe that's a terrain bug because the developers were too autistic to just have a flat arena, I guess. The grab attack is an easy punish as well. I know lore-wise Yasuke would love to have a piece of that Mikola action, but I gotta make sure no funny business happens. If it sounds like I'm making light of this fight compared to last time, that's because I am. It was weirdly super easy. I got 3 staggers in total, including this one where I got 4 charge attacks in a row and interrupted Mikola's return. What in the name of Starfist is this nonsense? After that, he went down so swiftly that I was in utter disbelief. Just listen to my live reaction. Boom, boom. GG. Wow, dude. What the frick? Like, actually, this... What? After all that struggle, and thrusting guys with his sword repeatedly, it's time for Yasuke the flamboyant fencer to ride into the sunset of company reorganization and lowered forecasts. Oh well, at least he has game journalists to back him up. That's something, I guess. In conclusion, there are some great lessons to learn here. The Meteoric Ore Blade may be the worst katana in the game with its extremely bad metrics across the board and complete replacement in the DLC, but don't underestimate the power of a quick charge attack. If your weapon has a fast heavy and does good stance damage, then it will be viable no matter what. On top of that, the quick katana moveset and passive bleed ensure that in the grand scheme of worst weapons, this one is like a diamond in the rough. Or to be more accurate, a piece of corn on a steaming turd. Would I recommend it though? Frick no. Being stuck with a dead scale is almost as painful as playing AC Shadows. Just use the great katana if you want that Ichimonji, friends. Or just play Sekiro. That works pretty good too, boys. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and see you next time. Peace.